The invitation came through our family group chat like a warning. My mother's message, perfectly composed and loaded with polite disappointment, read, "Emergency family meeting. Thursday, 7 p.m. Alexandra needs our help with her situation." That's what they called it now, my situation. Quitting a high-paying consulting job to start my own company had become the family scandal. For 2 years, I endured subtle jabs at dinners, unsolicited job postings in my inbox, and concerned looks passed between relatives. As I parked my beat-up Corolla next to my dad's Mercedes and my sister Emma's luxury SUV, I couldn't help but feel like I had already been judged, sentenced, and found guilty of ambition. Inside, the living room was set up like a boardroom. My dad by the fireplace in full executive mode, Emma and her husband on the leather couch, Mom in pearls. And even Aunt Patricia flown in for reinforcement. "We're just worried about your choices," they said. About my failure. But what they didn't know was that in less than an hour, Forbes would publish their 30 under 30 list, and I was on it. CEO of a tech company valued at over $2 billion. Suddenly, my situation wasn't a problem anymore, it was headline news. And for the first time, I wasn't the family disappointment. I was the one they all underestimated. I sat in the least comfortable chair in the room. The one that felt intentionally chosen to make me feel small. They all stared at me, my parents, my sister Emma, her smug husband, and Aunt Patricia, like I was some broken investment they were trying to salvage. "You had everything," my mother began. "A prestigious job, a promising fiancé, and a future we could be proud of." Every word was a blade. I wanted to scream, to defend myself, to tell them that walking away wasn't failure, it was freedom. But I stayed calm, nodding, letting them talk. I watched the clock. 7:43 p.m. Just 17 more minutes. James launched into a half-baked market analysis, dismissing my company as unsustainable. My father outlined next steps, assuming I'd be grateful for his advice. They didn't ask what I'd built. They didn't care. They only saw what I'd left behind, not what I was becoming. But I knew what was coming. The moment when their phones would buzz, their eyes would widen, and everything they thought they knew about me would crumble. I wasn't here to argue. I was here to prove, without saying a word, that they had been wrong all along. At exactly 8 p.m., Emma's phone lit up. She glanced down casually, then froze. Her face drained of color. "Oh my God," she whispered. All eyes turned to her. "Why is Alexandra on Forbes' 30 under 30 list?" Silence. My father blinked, clearly thinking he misheard. My mother's wine glass stopped midair. James lunged for Emma's phone, scrolling like a madman. "No way. This can't be right." He read aloud, stumbling, "Alexandra Bennett, 28, founder and CEO of New Rock Solutions. Valued at over $2 billion. Make that 3, I added quietly, checking the update from Marcus. "We just closed another acquisition." Every expression in the room shifted at once, from judgment to disbelief, from concern to confusion. No one spoke. They didn't know whether to apologize or ask for a job. I slowly stood, adjusting my thrifted blazer like armor. "Would you like to know what my company does now?" I asked, already opening my tablet. This wasn't just vindication. This was revelation. The moment when every doubt, every condescending remark, every dismissive glance was shattered by one undeniable truth. They hadn't just underestimated me. They never really knew me at all. The room buzzed with disbelief, but I didn't bask in it. I didn't raise my voice or gloat. I let the silence speak louder than any "I told you so" ever could. My mother stammered. "Why didn't you say anything?" Her voice shook, somewhere between shame and shock. "You never asked," I replied calmly. "You were too busy worrying about my failure to notice my success." Dad sat down slowly, still staring at the Forbes headline like it was written in another language. Emma looked like she wanted to cry, or maybe scream. James, well, he just looked small. My phone buzzed again. A message from CNBC confirming my interview. I grabbed my tablet, already prepping for the next board meeting. I'd love to stay, I said, walking toward the door. But I've got an empire to run. They called it revenge. But it wasn't. It was clarity. It was proof. I didn't need validation, I had results. And as their voices faded behind me, one thing became clear. The most powerful kind of revenge isn't loud. It's silent. It's built in boardrooms, not in battles. And it arrives long after they've stopped paying attention, right when you stop needing them to. They kept trying to come back into my life, as if nothing had happened. Emma posted a heartfelt tribute on LinkedIn, calling me her brilliant tech savant sister. My mother sent flowers and a handwritten note. Dad called the office 3 times in one morning. Each time softer, smaller. But the truth is, I no longer needed them. I wasn't holding a grudge, I'd simply outgrown the space they once held in my life. They didn't believe in me when it mattered. They couldn't see me until the world did. So now, they don't get to claim me. When Emma showed up at my office unannounced, I met her in the smallest conference room, the one with no view. No comfort. She wanted connection, collaboration, maybe even credit. I gave her none of those. I'm not angry, I told her. I just know my worth now. And I've built a life that doesn't require your approval to feel complete. Boundaries aren't built from resentment. They're built from self-respect. Letting them back in without accountability wouldn't be kindness, it would be a step backward. And I didn't come this far to return to the version of myself they once believed I should be. When my father returned, this time alone, there was no arrogance, no suits, no speeches. Just jeans, an old briefcase, and eyes that finally looked open. He didn't come to fix me or convince me. He came to understand. He spoke of the science fair I'd won in 5th grade, the one he missed for a board meeting. He admitted he never really saw me, not the inventor, not the builder. Just the daughter who didn't follow the plan. And for the first time, he asked to learn. So I taught him. Not to validate him, not to erase the years of doubt, but because I finally saw sincerity. He didn't ask for control. He asked for truth. We made plans for a real family dinner, not an intervention, not a show of status. A tour of my company first. No assumptions, no inflated pride. Just clarity. But one rule, I said. Everyone comes as themselves. No pretending. No speeches. No James. He nodded without protest. This time, I wasn't the one trying to earn a seat at their table. They were being invited to mine. On my terms. Not for approval, but for understanding. And if they couldn't meet me there, then I'd keep moving forward without them. 1 month after the Forbes article changed everything, I stood in the boardroom of New Rock Solutions, no longer a secret, no longer underestimated. Across from me sat global investors, policymakers, and tech leaders. But it was me they waited for. Not because of my name or my background, but because I had built something that mattered. Our AI systems were being implemented in disaster response, predictive healthcare, and global education. Governments were listening. Universities were adapting. Startups were mimicking our models. I wasn't just leading a company, I was shaping how the world learns, responds, and evolves. And I did it all without compromise. I didn't trade ambition for acceptance, or shrink myself for approval. I learned that leadership isn't about volume or ego. It's about vision, execution, and the ability to remain grounded while standing at the edge of the future. My past no longer defined me. My family's silence no longer limited me. Their approval, once a distant dream, had become irrelevant. Now, young women wrote to me daily, saying they felt seen, inspired. Parents referenced my story when encouraging their daughters to dream bigger. In boardrooms and classrooms alike, I had become proof that success doesn't ask for permission, it demands persistence. And as I looked out at a world finally ready to listen, I realized I no longer had anything to prove. I wasn't just part of the future. I was building it, on my own terms. And with every step forward, I wasn't just rewriting my story, I was redefining what's possible for every woman who's ever been doubted, dismissed, or overlooked. Because sometimes, the best revenge isn't just success. It's becoming everything they said you couldn't be, and doing it with grace, purpose, and undeniable power. That night, as I locked up my office, I paused for a moment. I looked at the skyline, glittering with opportunity, and felt a quiet pride that didn't need to be broadcast. I thought of that little girl at the science fair. Her big dreams too unconventional for her family to understand. She didn't need anyone's permission back then, and she certainly didn't now. Success had never been about proving them wrong. It had always been about proving myself right.